Well, good evening. This is Urban Bush Sista. Instead of poetry tonight, I am revisiting Toni Morrison's Sula. I'm sure many of you are also revisiting her works and hopefully introducing them to folks who um, didn't become familiar until her passing and all of the media coverage. However, folks get it in, just please do, because her work matters. Our stories matter. And I'm looking at a passage from the chapter titled 1922. In this book, Toni Morrison uses numbers to identify chapters instead of traditional text. That's one thing I caught coming back to this book. I had not, on previous reads, paid attention to that, but that is interesting. Now I want to know why. But on page 2 of chapter 1922, we visit with Nell and Sula, principal characters, best friends, 12 years old in 1922. And they head over to Edna Finch's ice cream store to, one, buy some ice cream, but not really. They're more interested in watching how women interact with men. That's kind of a rite of passage for girls to, just see how people move differently and who's attracted to who and maybe why. And so that's what they're doing with this passage. It reads, "It was not really Edna Finch's ice cream that made them brave the stretch of those panther eyes. Years later, their own eyes would glaze as they cupped their chins in remembrance of the inchworm smiles, the squatting haunches, the track rail legs straddling broken chairs, the cream-colored trousers marking with a mere seam the place where the mystery curled. Those smooth vanilla crouches invited them, those yellow, lemon-yellow gabardines beckoned to them. They moved toward the ice cream parlor like tightrope walkers, as thrilled by the possibility of a slip as by the maintenance of tension and balance. The least sideways glance, the merest toe stub, could pitch them into those creamy haunches spread wide with welcome. Somewhere beneath all that daintiness, chambered in all that neatness, lay the thing that clouded their dreams." And again, I'm looking at this with the writer's eye, and we'll probably turn this into an essay where I use Sula as a standalone, or I do a compare and contrast with another novel that has similar themes to it. And in this one, there are so many themes that speak to black culture, black life, black love, black strife, trying to make it, dealing with generational family curses, not understanding trauma, because in 1922, black folks weren't getting therapy. We needed it, but we weren't getting it. And Mother Toni Morrison is able to tie in all of these things, the stick-to-itiveness, the hanging on for your child with nothing, but hanging on for your child or your children, choosing to stay here when life is so incredibly hard. And I know a lot of young parents, a lot of young mothers, a lot of young fathers, a lot of single mothers, a lot of single dads, a lot of folks out here are trying to navigate this terrain of parenting, and may or may not have had really good examples, or those really good examples may not be accessible. They may not even be on this plane anymore, and so there's a lot to figure out. So I know it's going to be an essay. And I know people are looking to start support groups, y'all. It matters. Let me show my crystals, because they matter too. That energy is important. Who you give your energy away to. What you do for your self-care. Much of my self-care comes through writing. As a healing artist, I really strive to share what I've learned through writing. And I've been writing since I was a little girl. I've always had a love of writing, And so I am as hurt as the rest of the world at losing Toni Morrison as like an auntie, a big mama, a mother who has gifted us with the power of writing and the permission to tell our stories. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, so I keyed in with Pecola Breelove in The Bluest Eye. I choose to speak my truth so that other children know that it's okay to tell when something happens, when somebody touches them inappropriately. You know, we're coming up on Labor Day and the last big cookout before it turns cold in places where it turns cold and snows. And I just want to remind, like from the bottom of my heart, just remind parents and encourage you to pay extra attention at this final cookout of the year of who's around your babies and what they're doing. And, you know, kids are accessible to so much. And unfortunately, we have children who have been touched who then start touching other children. So yes, I am asking you to look after all of the children. All of them. I love to see people making a hashtag, who's looking out for Keisha, and posting that now through Labor Day. Who's looking out for Keisha? And another hashtag that reads cookout. Because we have to look out for the babies. Where Pecola and I had the same situation was that our perpetrators were grown men who were family members, very close family members. And so the essay will come, and I thank Toni Morrison for giving not only me but other black writers permission to tell our stories, regardless of who is offended by it. You can take your black respectability politics and place them as far up the ass as they can manage to travel. I don't play those, not when children get hurt. Because it's taken me a lifetime as an adult to find my voice. Even though I've been writing a long time. There was always that, who's not going to like this in the back of my head. And as a survivor, you are often the black sheep. And when you decide to speak up, you are the black sheep again. So bye-bye, black sheep, have you any wool? I got it. And I am spilling tea, and I invite anybody else who needs to let go of that silence so that they can grow, so that they can heal, so they can move forward and fall in love with themselves and never, ever, 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 ever forget how beautiful they are, regardless of what happens in this world. So, looking at Sula through different eyes, looking where I identify with what Toni Morrison has written. And although I'm an essayist and I do a lot of creative nonfiction work, I always say that there is truth in fiction too. There's a little bit in that story, in that poem. And I just, I encourage folks, give yourself permission to tell your stories. If it is not CSA and it's not rape and abuse and it's some other type of violence that caused you emotional and physical pain, get that out of you so that it doesn't eat you alive. And I love you. Again, follow Urban Bush Sista on Facebook, poetry_Urban Bush Sista. On the gram at Imani is Love, IMANIIZLOVE. I love you. Peace.